Hello, students. Welcome back. Good to have you. So, today we're looking at the concepts and uses of classification systems. The first thing we'll be looking at here is need for classification. There is an enormous variety of life. Each organism species have different characteristics. It is necessary to place organisms into categories based on observable characteristics. There are five large groups, which are also the five major kingdoms. So below here I have an activity showing a major characteristic of each kingdom, and we're going to try to place each kingdom according to its characteristics. So we have here the nucleus with cell wall, autofeeding, that is describing plants. We have another one here, cell membrane with no cellulose, these are heterotrophs, that's animal kingdom. Nucleus with no cell wall and they exhibit external digestion, that's fungi. Single cell organisms with no nucleus, those are prokaryotes. And the last one, mainly unicellular with true nucleus, that's protoxistans. Let's check. All correct. Now, the five kingdoms are distinguished by obvious characters of morphology and anatomy. On this slide, we'll be looking at the hierarchy of classification. Individual species can be placed into further groups within a kingdom. The sequence of kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species form the hierarchy of classification. Moving down the hierarchy of groups, there are more similarities. Members of the same species can mate and to produce fertile offspring. So here we have the hierarchy of classification of lion, Panthera leo. The conventional way of giving organisms a two-part name, that is the binomial system of naming species, is, is made up of the genus and species. It was introduced by the Swedish biologist Carolus Linnaeus. He gave organisms names based on the body structure of the organism. It is an internationally agreed. What is the correct form of writing the scientific name of the image above? The correct form of writing the scientific name of corn is Z maize, with the Z starting with capital and the M in lowercase. Let's check. We have another organism here, the rat. It is called Ratus ratus, and this should be the correct spelling. Check. So we have some activities here laid out. Which term means a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring? That should be species. Correct. A rat has scientific name Ratus ratus. What do the two parts of this name refer to? That should be the genus and species. The scientific names of some animals are listed below. Which animals are in the same genus? That should be one and two only. Let's check. Correct. Organisms, okay, on this slide we'll be looking at evolutionary relationships. Organisms which share many of the same features are normally descended from common ancestors. The common features shared by different organisms. The more the features shared, the more recently they separated from one another during evolution. For instance, here we have all animals are ingestive heterotrophs. All chordates have a notochord, which later becomes a backbone. All mammals have fore and mammary glands. All carnivores have well-developed carnassial flesh-cutting teeth. All Felidae have retractable claws. All Panthera, that is big cats, can rear but cannot purr. All lions belong to the same species. Members of the same species can mate and produce fertile offspring with other members of the same species. So This is for animals, showing the evolutionary relationship from heterotrophs to species, from kingdom to species. On this slide, we have the classification based on protein structure and gene sequence. Classification based on DNA based sequence is the most recent. Organisms which are closely related have similar amino acid sequence in proteins, such as hemoglobin. Organisms that are closely related have very similar DNA profiles. For example, humans and chimpanzees share 98.6% of their genes. So we have another set of activities. What is the most accurate method of classifying animals? That would be identifying similarities in DNA sequence. Correct. Which statement about the binomial naming system is correct? That should be it is an internationally agreed scientific naming system. Check. Correct. That'll be all for now. Watch out for the next chapter on chapter 1.3. Thanks for listening.